There's a strange kind of freedom that comes the moment you stop trying to control everything. You stop clinging to the what-ifs and what might go wrong, and suddenly life begins to move. Worry, for all its noise, is like a cage made of shadows. It keeps you stuck in a future that doesn't even exist yet, stealing away the calm and strength you already carry within. But when you begin to let go, when you choose to trust the rhythm of life instead of wrestling with it, something powerful happens. The current shifts. Life, in its quiet wisdom, starts aligning with you, not because you forced it, but because you finally made space for it to flow. In this video, I'm going to share 7 timeless Buddhist lessons, gentle but powerful teachings that can help you step out of the grip of worry and into the peace that's been quietly waiting for you all along. Lesson 1. Fear is a seed. Plant it, and it grows. In Buddhist thought, the energy you carry within becomes the world you see outside. Fear isn't just an emotion, it's a lens, and the more you look through it, the more distorted your reality becomes. The irony is this: when you fear something deeply, you begin to live as though it's already true. You unconsciously breathe life into it. Imagine this: you're afraid of losing your job. That fear seeps into your actions. You hesitate, second-guess, shrink. That anxiety, it clouds your judgment. You may even start to withdraw, and without meaning to, you drift toward the very outcome you feared. The same is true in relationships. Fear of abandonment can make us cling or doubt, and that very tension can push others away. It's not fate working against you, it's fear working within you. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like soil. It doesn't judge what you plant. Whether you sow seeds of fear or seeds of calm, the mind will help them grow. But you are the gardener. You choose what takes root. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means shifting your attention away from fear and toward presence. When fear rises, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me build peace or feeding panic? You are not powerless. You are the creator of your inner landscape, and when your inner world changes, your outer world begins to reflect it. Let go of fear and watch how life begins to soften, open and flow in ways you never expected. Lesson 2. True strength is found in surrender. In today's world, we're often told that strength means control. Control your time. Control your success. Control the outcome. Push harder. Plan more. Hold on tighter. But Buddhist wisdom offers something radically different and far more freeing. It tells us that real strength isn't about gripping tighter. It's about letting go. Not giving up, but giving over the illusion that we can shape every moment, every person, every outcome with our will alone. Surrender in the Buddhist sense is not weakness, it's a sacred release. It's the art of doing what you can and then stepping back with trust, allowing karma and life's natural flow to unfold. Picture holding water in your palm. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. But if your hand is open, the water stays. That's surrender, not passive, not careless, just open. It's a quiet confidence that says, I've done my part. Now I trust life to meet me halfway. When we stop interfering, something beautiful happens. Our energy returns. Our mind becomes clear. We start noticing opportunities we were too anxious to see before. Help arrives from places we didn't expect. Life begins to work with us, not against us. Buddhism teaches that surrender is not an end. It's a beginning. It's the start of true freedom. And in that freedom, you don't lose power. You discover it. Lesson 3. Anxiety belongs to tomorrow. Peace belongs to now. Buddhist wisdom reminds us of a simple truth. Anxiety cannot exist in the present moment. It lives in the mind's projections. what might happen, what could go wrong, what we fear is coming. But none of that is real. It's all a movie playing in the future. When you feel anxious, notice where your mind is. It's racing ahead, building stories, spinning scenarios, dragging you into a world that doesn't yet exist. A world of what-ifs and maybes. And while you're there, you miss the only place life truly exists. Right here. This moment, this breath, is your home. And in this space, you are okay. You are breathing. You are grounded. You are enough. Buddhism calls this practice mindfulness, the gentle act of returning to now. And every time you return, you weaken anxiety's grip. Because in the present, there is nothing chasing you. No future to fear. Only this still, quiet second where life is unfolding, one breath at a time. The mind may roar, but the present moment whispers. And the more you listen, the more you realize. Peace isn't something you find out there. It's already within you, buried beneath the noise, waiting to be remembered. Lesson 4. The burden of imagined fears. So much of what weighs on our minds never even happens. Buddhist wisdom offers a quiet, powerful reminder. Our greatest source of anxiety often isn't reality. It's imagination. We worry, stress, and lose sleep over scenarios that never unfold. We carry fears like invisible stones in our backpack, dragging them through each day, even though most of them never come to pass. Why does this happen? Because the human mind is like a novelist that never stops writing. It scripts endless what-ifs, painting vivid pictures of problems that don't exist yet and maybe never will. It warns us of disasters, heartbreaks, and failures that live only in thought, not in the present moment. Think about it. How many times have you braced for a difficult conversation that ended up being fine, or feared the worst about a situation that resolved itself peacefully? The storm rarely arrives the way we imagined it, and often it doesn't come at all. This is the trap of worry. It distorts scale. It brings distant fears so close that we start reacting to illusions as if they're truths. Buddhism teaches us, just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves belief. The mind can create stories, but we don't have to live inside all of them. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling into anxiety, pause. Ask yourself gently, is this actually happening, or is this just a thought? Often you'll realize you've been fighting shadows, not substance. Freedom begins when we return to this moment, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Let the imagined fears dissolve. What's real is often far gentler than what we fear, and when you stop living in the mind's predictions, life starts to feel lighter, clearer, and much more peaceful. Lesson 5. Control blocks. Faith. Here's a truth that's hard to swallow, yet deeply freeing. You can't hold the steering wheel and still believe the road will carry you. Buddhism reminds us that control and faith are like two travelers heading in opposite directions. The more tightly you grip control, the further you drift from trust, and the more deeply you trust, the more you must let go. Trying to micromanage every part of your life is like saying to the universe, "I don't believe you'll take care of me." It's a subtle but powerful form of fear, the fear that without your constant supervision, everything will fall apart. But has that control ever truly brought peace? Often, the more we try to dominate outcomes, the more tangled we become in anxiety, tension, and fatigue. Control might give the illusion of safety, but it's often driven by a quiet panic underneath. Faith, on the other hand, isn't passive, it's powerful. It whispers, "I've done what I can. Now I trust the unfolding." It allows you to take action without being enslaved by the result. It welcomes mystery. It believes in timing you can't control and outcomes you may not fully understand yet. Buddhist teachings call this the release of attachment. You act with intention, but you surrender the obsession with how things must turn out. Like placing a seed into the soil, you water it, nurture it, but you don't yank at it to speed its growth. Real growth takes trust in unseen roots. Ask yourself, are you holding on so tightly that you've forgotten how to breathe? Are you trying so hard to force a future that you've stopped believing in life's quiet intelligence? Letting go isn't giving up. It's showing up fully and then allowing life to meet you in its own way. That's where faith begins. And with it, peace. Lesson 6. Letting go is how you begin to grow. Worry has a quiet way of shrinking your world. It starts subtly, a few cautious thoughts, a bit of over-planning, a fear of what might go wrong. You tell yourself you're just being careful, but over time, that carefulness becomes a cage. You begin to shrink without noticing. You shrink your goals because they feel too uncertain. You shrink your voice because you fear judgment. You shrink your heart because it's safer not to risk being hurt. Worry doesn't protect, it restricts. It's like walking. You shift your focus to what's truly yours, your thoughts, your choices, your kindness, and release what was never meant to be held so tightly. Picture this. You're in a river. The more you try to cup the water in your hands, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when you relax, when you float, the river carries you. That's the essence of surrender. The more you release the grip of fear, the more room you make inside yourself, for courage, for creativity, for joy. Letting go is expansive. It's bold. It invites you back into the present, where life is actually happening. Not in the what-ifs, but in the right now. Ask yourself, how much energy do you spend each day worrying about things you cannot control? And what if you poured that same energy into creating, into connecting, into trusting? When you stop trying to force life into your blueprint and begin to dance with its rhythm, something beautiful happens. You feel supported by something greater, the natural wisdom of existence itself. Letting go is not weakness, it is bravery. It is the strength to stop shrinking and the courage to start living with an open heart. Take a breath and feel the weight lift. And remember, you do not need to hold it all. Freedom begins the moment you choose to let go. Lesson 7. Life begins to flow when you step aside. One of the most powerful yet often overlooked truths in Buddhist teaching is this. Life works best when we stop trying to control every inch of it. The more we interfere, the more resistance we create. The more we grip, the more chaos we invite. But when we learn to step back, not out of neglect, but from a place of trust, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life starts moving on its own, with a rhythm far wiser than our plans. Yet this idea can feel deeply unsettling. We have been taught from a young age that control equals safety, that without constant effort, correction and micromanagement, everything will collapse. So we interfere. We overanalyze conversations, anticipate problems that have not even happened, chase outcomes that have not matured, and insert ourselves into every detail, believing that if we do not, we will fall behind or fail completely. But that constant interference creates more friction than flow. It drains our energy, clouds our clarity, and leaves us burned out from trying to manage what was never fully ours to manage in the first place. Buddhism offers a different way, a gentler path. It teaches that by releasing the need to interfere, we make space for life to unfold with its own intelligence. Just as a stream naturally finds its course through the landscape, your life can find its way forward if you stop blocking it with fear and control. Think of all the times you tried to force something into being, a relationship, a job, a decision, only to watch it fall apart or backfire. Then think of the moments when you surrendered, took a breath, and let things be. and how surprisingly well they turned out. Your worry, your control, your constant mental grasping, they are like rocks thrown into the stream. They disturb the current. But when you remove the obstacles, the water flows smoothly again. Life does the same. Interfering does not make life safer. It makes it harder. It turns possibility into pressure. And in trying to control everything, you often close the door to better outcomes that could have arrived if only you had allowed them. So how do you apply this? Start with observation. Notice when you are clinging too tightly, when you are obsessively checking your phone for a reply, rethinking a decision for the 10th time, or pushing someone or something to move faster than it is ready to. Ask yourself, what would happen if I loosened my grip? What if I did what was necessary and then let the rest go? Non-interference does not mean apathy. It means knowing what is truly yours to act on and surrendering the rest. You plant the seed. You care for it. But you do not pull on it in hopes it will grow faster. Growth, whether in nature or in your life, follows its own timing. It cannot be forced without consequence. Imagine this. You hold a fragile butterfly in your hands. If you clench your fingers out of fear, it may slip away, or you may crush it. But if you loosen your grip and open your palm, it may stay longer or even return after flying away. Your goals, your relationships, your peace of mind, all of them need space to breathe. The harder you try to hold on, the faster they slip through your hands. The more space you allow, the more they grow on their own. And then a shift takes place. Life starts working in your favor. The right people come into your life. The right timing reveals itself. New answers appear without being forced. You stop feeling as if everything depends only on you. That is when your energy rises, your breathing eases, and your heart softens. You see that what you feared would fall apart without your control was never meant to be forced at all. At the root of our urge to control is fear. Fear of failing, of losing, of not being enough. But the deeper truth is that life never asks for perfection from you. It asks for trust. A calm, steady trust in how your path unfolds. You do not need to control every scene like a director. Sometimes you just need to play your role and let the story open on its own. So pause. Take a moment to notice one area where you have been interfering too much. Is it a conversation you keep replaying in your head? A choice you are pushing because you are afraid to wait? A goal you are choking with constant worry? Ask yourself, what would it mean to let go here? Not out of laziness, but out of real trust. The moment you loosen your grip, life finds room to move. It starts to rise to meet you in ways logic cannot explain. That is when signs appear. That is when grace steps in. That is when you feel carried, not only by your effort, but by something greater than you. Buddhism reminds us that we are not here to conquer life. We are here to move in harmony with it. Life is not a machine to be controlled, but a flow to be experienced. You cannot calm the whole ocean, but you can learn to ride its waves. You cannot control the tide, but you can move in rhythm with it. Every teaching so far has been guiding you toward this deeper understanding. What you hold too tightly, you imprison. What you release, you free. And whatever you stop controlling begins to grow. You do not need to solve everything at once. You only need to take one step at a time, breathe fully, and let go of the belief that your control is what keeps life moving. Let today be the start of a new way of living. Let go of one worry, trust one unknown, and allow life to bring you something better than what you could have forced. Because when you stop pushing, you start receiving. When you stop interfering, life begins to truly support you, not against you, but with you. Conclusion. Life is not a battle to win. It is a rhythm to move with. And the more you try to control, the more you miss the grace that comes when you trust. Buddhism never asks you to give up your responsibilities or stop caring. It asks you to release the burden that was never meant for you to carry. It invites you to loosen your grip, let go of fear, and leave room for life to unfold in its own quiet and beautiful way. As you move ahead, remember, you do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to fight against the flow. Your strength is not in control, but in alignment. Take a deep breath, trust the timing, and know that when you stop interfering, you step into a life filled with clarity, calm, and deeper purpose. If this message touched you, kindly give the video a thumbs up. It truly helps the channel grow. Subscribe for more wisdom rooted in Buddhism and timeless teachings. And if you know someone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or always trying to solve everything, share this with them. It could be the reminder they have been waiting for. Leave a comment below. What is one thing you are ready to stop interfering with? I would truly love to hear your thoughts. Until we meet again, breathe deeply, trust completely, and walk softly with life.